Good afternoon and welcome to CIS 101. We are making progress. I hope you guys are continuing to observe the guidelines from the health officers, washing your hands, wearing the masks, keeping the social distance, and hopefully this thing will go away. But if you've been watching the news lately, this thing is getting a little bit worse in some of the states. So we need to make sure that we don't become negligent. Another point is this is the voting period. I cannot tell you who to vote for, but vote for your brother, for your mother, for your father, vote for your country. It's very important that we be engaged. It's one of the civic duties and is at least to be part of it. Remember, elections have consequences. So make sure that you actively participate in that or help somebody to be an active participant. We are making progress. We're in week 9. We're still working on Excel, I'm sorry. Week 10, we'll continue working on Microsoft Excel, and this will be our last chapter. We are going to be going through chapter 6. And then after that, I think from week 13, we might jump into Microsoft Access. So we have maybe 2 more weeks before we get into Microsoft Access. So what I can ask you to do is make sure that your computer has Microsoft Access, or at least you're able to access Microsoft Access. The school actually provides you access to Microsoft Access for free, the same way you're able to get Microsoft Excel and Microsoft Word. And I'll encourage you to start doing that before that time comes. If you need any help, any input with that, let me know before then. As usual, on week 9, we have the simulations, and most of you are doing well on the simulations, so that's a good thing. This week, we're going to be working on pivot tables, and this is one of the important tools of Microsoft Excel. Now, as you can see, we have been spending a lot of time on Microsoft Excel because this is a very important resource for helping us to manage the data. So you'll be coming back and hearing about this concept of what you call the big data, the Internet of Things. And this means that we are generating a lot of data, and businesses need to be able to analyze this data and use the data for decision making. So Microsoft Excel is one of the tools that you can use to help you in managing your data. It is at the bottom of the chain because there are other more versatile tools that you can use, but it's also very, very important, and it has a wider application. Other tools that you can use to help you in managing your data is something like Tableau. So if you have some time, there's a lot of videos on the internet that you can watch and learn about how to use Tableau. So when you go to the job market and you're trying to switch jobs or you're trying to get a promotion, if you have a good grasp of Microsoft Excel and Tableau, that will give you a competitive advantage. So note that. So pivot table allows you to be able to summarize the data that you have and be able to make more informed decision. So that is something that you're going to be looking at in the simulation, and also we are going to be looking at with the mid-level exercise. So I'm glad that some of you are watching the videos on the mid-level exercise. Some of you are not, but that's just how life is. We have a saying, and I might have said it here before, you can take a cow to the river, but you can't force it to drink. I'm not calling you no cow, so don't get me wrong. One more item, I don't know what I've mentioned before, but if you don't mind, you can email me, you can text me, you can let me know what are some of the things that we are doing that we should stop doing, or what are some of the things that we have been doing and we should stop doing. Now, usually what happens is most of the students will notice that something is not working for them, and they wait until the end of the semester when you're doing the student evaluations, and that's when you put that in there. Now, that time, if you're trying to say maybe things should have been done differently, it might be a little bit too late for you. So, if you know there is something that we can do to make this learning experience productive for you, and this is the time for you to do that. So, I'm welcome to suggestions, ideas. There won't be any penalties, so share them with me through all the means that I've provided for you to communicate with me. Also, as we move forward, I usually prefer the phone. I think I can get back to you much faster through the phone. So if you have some issues, you're working on an assignment, something is not good, your grade is not reflected properly, just shoot me a text message. And if you call me and I don't respond, leave me a short message on a text and I'll be able to get back to you. Now, I get a lot of calls through telemarketing, and now this is the voting season. A lot of people calling me with vote here, support this guy, do XYZ. So when you leave a short text message, you tell me, let me know who you are, and I can get back to you faster. Okay, let's get the business of the day. So I have these two files that I'm going to be working with. I have an Excel file and I have the instruction file here. So I'll open my Excel file and also open my instruction file. And I'm going to have both of them popping up here for me. I want to open the PDF, is prefer the PDF. But you're free to open any that you feel is okay for you. So mine went to the download. I have to maybe pull it from there. So I got the download from here, and where is it going? Okay, it's opening somewhere. Okay, so it's right here. I got it. And I'll drag it here, and I like to have kind of like a spray screen, so I'll position it right there, adjust it so I can see everything that I need to work with, and then I have my Excel file, and I'll enable editing. So I got this one here, move it here so I can see it. So those are the files that I need to work with. Okay, so I got that, and this is messing things around, so I'm going to try and adjust it a little bit so you can see that. Okay, so that's what I have. Okay, so read a little bit of this. So this tells you about what you're working on. This is the file that I have, and this file has two worksheets. So it tells me open this file and then save it under that name, and then it's always good to get a lay of the land. So this file here has some field names. We got color number, color introduced, and then retired, and that, and then you have the collection. We got a couple of field names. So this is what you call a field name, and this is the data under that. So in Access, we'll actually be able to see how to create the field name and how to specify the type of data that you're working with. Item number, replacement, and things like that. So it says create a relation between the items table using the color number field and the colors table using the color number field. So when you look at this data just like this, you actually don't know which is the colors table and which is the items table. Between the items table and the colors table. So what you need to do is you need to first identify which of this is that, because you can see these are, of course, they are tables. We looked at how you can change a range, a structured range, into a table. So what I'll do is make sure that the mouse pointer is inside the table somewhere here, and then you can go to, which one is it? The table tool, the table design right there, and then you can see the name of the table here. So this I know is the colors. From the table tools design, you have the color. So what I can do is I'll come back here, right click, and then click on rename, and I'm going to append the name of that table here because I use that a lot. I'm going to be using these tables and they're going to be refiling me, do this, do that on that table. So you can do that. So at least you know this is now the colors table. And the same thing right here, you click, and then you know this is the item because this is already selected. So right click here, and then you come here and you rename, and you're saying that this is going to be the items. Okay, so now I know I have the colors table and then I have the items. So look at the colors table, the field name, color number, and then the collections, there's also the color number. So usually when you're creating a relationship, you're going to be using fields that are the same. And in Access, we call that primary key and foreign key. So we revisit those concepts when you go talk about Microsoft Access. Some of you might be aware of that, some of you might not. So a primary key is a field that is used to uniquely identify a record. This is a record, this is a record, this is a record. So color number, all these are going to be unique because they are used to identify this information right here. When you come to the collection, we have the color number and I think the item number, because you can see we have 104, that is twice. So color number is not unique, but the combination of the color number and the item number is going to be unique. So in this table, this items table, it has what you're calling a composite key or a compound key. So is two field names that represent a primary key. So we are going to revisit that down the road. So the first instruction tells us create a relationship between the items table using the color number field and the colors table using the color number. So we're going to create a relationship. So this is another concept that you're going to revisit in Microsoft Access. So I'm not able to see all my tools here. Okay, so what I am going to do is I'm going to maximize this screen so I can see all my tools, okay, like that. And now when I play around, I'll be able to see all my fields, okay, my tools. So I want to create a relationship. So what you do is you click on the data and then you have this relationship. So now you have this button here for the relationships. You click on that and it gives you this window here, and you can move this pop-up window, and then what you're going to be doing is you're going to be saying I want to create a new relationship. You click on that and then it asks you which table are you going to be using to create the relationship. So I'm using this colors table, and which field am I using? Remember I talked about the primary key and the foreign key. So under the colors I'm using the what? The item number. So the question is asking me to create a relationship, and you're going to be using the colors, and then you have what? The color number, and then you're using the other table here. You have what? The items, and you're using what? Whichever field they're asking you to do, like that. So you have to know which is the primary key, which is the foreign key, okay? And then after that, you click OK, and that relationship is going to be created for you. So you have that. So remember what I said is I'm not going to be doing exactly everything the way it is. I'm giving you some ideas, but if you follow this, you should be able to do that. Okay. So we have done that. Now we can move to C, create a blank pivot table from within the items table, and from the within the items table on the collection worksheet to analyze multiple tables. Add the data to the data model, place the pivot table on a new worksheet, and rename the worksheet, blah, blah, blah. Rename the pivot table retired. Okay, rename the worksheet that, and rename the pivot table retired. Okay, so first of all, we're in the items table. That's why I said it's good that you rename them so you'll be able to know where you are. Now, when you're working with pivot table, you'll use the insert button, and we have what you're calling the recommended, and then we have the pivot. So the blank you create from here, recommended is whereby you have some pre-formatted, and you might have seen this in the simulation. So we're going to be working with the empty. So you click that, and it gives you this pop-up window. And basically what you can do is I'm going to maximize this so you can see more of what I'm doing. So I have the table, and then I have these tools here, okay, for creating my pivot table. And I'm told to do what? Create blank pivot table within the items table on the collection worksheet, analyze the multiple tables, add the data to the data model, okay, place the pivot table in a new worksheet and rename the worksheet that. So select the table range, it is selected, that's what we have as the items. We're going to be doing this on a what? Add this data to the data model, so you click here, and then you're doing this new worksheet or existing worksheet. You're doing this on a new worksheet. So you click OK, and you have this. So this is a blank one, okay? And then what you're going to do is you're going to be renaming. Remember I said you can minimize this sometimes if you want, so you can have more of that, okay? So it says rename, place the pivot table in a new worksheet and name the worksheet retired colors. So right here, you right click and you change that name and name the pivot table retired, okay? And then what you do is once you finish with the pivot table, you're going to name the pivot table as retired, the same way that we renamed the other pivot tables. Okay, D, you go to display the names of both tables in the pivot table field list. Okay, so we have pivot table fields right here, and you have active, then you click on all. So they're saying display both of them. You have them here, okay, and items, okay, they are both displayed. And then display the color field as rows, display the color field as rows, and sum of the replacement value as the values. So the color field, so you come to the colors, and what you want to do is the color field. So display the color field as rows. So the color field, this is the color field as the rows. So you bring the mouse pointer here, and you're putting it as what? As the rows, and you can see what happens. When I do that, you got all the information right here. So I'm going to take this back out there. There's nothing in our table. So what I'm going to be doing is now actually creating the values in the pivot table. So the color field, bring the mouse pointer, hold it down, and then you drag it, and then you have the colors. Now you can see all the colors down there. Okay, and so display the color field as rows and the sum of the replacement value field as values. So replacement value, that was going to come from what? The item. So that's why we had to create the relationship, so that you're able to create to get values from both tables. That was the reason why we had to do that relationship. So because remember, we have this table has its own field names, and then this table has its own field name. When we create the relationship, we establish that grouping, and now we can combine items from both tables. So the replacement value should be our value. So you bring the mouse pointer here, click and hold, and then you drag it, and then you drop right there. And then you can see the values will come there. Okay, now we're supposed to be doing what? The sum of the replacement, display the replacement. Yep, so that's the sum. You can see that's the sum. Sometimes you're going to have different types of values, and we'll be able to see that. You might have seen that in the simulation. So you can have value field settings, you can have the sum, you can have count, average, all the way down like that. So that's how we do that. And the next item is we display the name, both table and pivot table, display that. Okay, add a field, display the, okay, so add a filter to display aggregates for retired colors only using the retired field. Note that current colors do not have retirement date, you must, okay, so add a filter. So usually we can add a filter right here on our data, and we are adding a filter to display the aggregates for the retired colors. Okay, so the retired colors are going to come from what? The colors table. So you scroll up a little bit, and this is the retired. So bring the mouse pointer here, hold it down, and then you drag it here. Now I want you to see what's going to happen in the table. You see up here, we add another field for the retired. Okay, now they talk about something about the replacement. So it's now showing all values, even the ones that are retired. So we don't want to show the ones that are blank. So what I do is bring the mouse pointer there, click, and then you click on all, and this is showing you all of them. Then click on the blank, you see that. So you say select multiple, and then when you have, so I want you to see what's going to happen to the values over here. So you're supposed to remove the blank. So uncheck that, and then you click OK, and then you can see the values change. Okay, because you have taken down the blank. So you've applied that filter. Okay, and then if you come back, you have all of them. You click OK, the values are going to increase. So that's how you go about playing with that filter field. Apply the pivot style medium 7. I think that one you can do very easily. So now what you do is once you click out here, that pivot table field name disappears. If you come back, click it back, it comes back. Okay. If you want to take it out, you can take it out from here, but then you have to go back to design and bring it back. So you have your pivot table here, and you want to apply the design. Okay, so different design is right here. Under the design, you can click on that and select the design that you want. So follow the format that you're required to do with it. I won't do that for you. Format the values, accounting number format. So this one's here, accounting number format. You'll do this under the home button, and then you come to the formatting styles right here under the number. So you apply that, and then you have that accounting number format. 2 decimal places, you can do that, and create a custom name replacement value. Okay, change row label in cell A3 to retired colors. So A3 right here. So you're going to be changing this value here to replacement. So you can do that. Okay. Yep, value field settings, or you can also do it from there. So custom name. So what you do is you bring the mouse pointer here, select that cell, right click, then you go to value field settings, and you have the custom name. So change that from sum of replacement to replacement. And then this label here, you can just change it directly through here and put the required name right here. Add a column to show calculations by completing the following step. So we have this column, another column here. We should add another column right here. And you're told to do that. Add a column to show the calculations by doing add a second replacement value field below the current field in the values area. So you have to click inside here so you can have the field names right here. And they're telling us to add a second replacement value field below the current field in the values. So right here, we are going to add another in replacement value field. So replacement value field, and where did we get the first one from? So replacement value, bring the mouse pointer here, click, and you drag it like that. So that's the second value that we added. That, and then select the option to display the values as a percentage of the grand total, and then type the custom name, blah, blah, blah. So under here, you'll bring the mouse pointer here, and then you go to value field settings, and you want this to be as a what? So value as a percentage, show values as actually, yeah. So value as, so not here, but show value as, and then down here, because you're doing calculations, you want to do as a percentage of the grand total. So what you do is cancel. This is bring the mouse pointer here, hold it, drop it here, and then right click here, and then you go to the value field settings. And because it's calculation, it's not a summary, it's calculation, you click on show values as, and then under the values as, there is a drop down menu, and you choose grand total. It's not column total, it's the grand total. Okay, so this is the same way you can do when you're doing cumulative. You click that, and then you click OK, and then you can see this is the grand total. Okay, so this value here is a percentage of this, and you can see this adds up to total. And you got that, and then type the custom percent. So right here, you can right click, go to value field settings, and then you type that name that you asked to do right there. Okay. So add a slicer for the color field. So a slicer is a tool that you can actually also use to summarize the data a little bit more. It gives you more specific granularities in how your data is summarized. So we're going to be adding a slicer. So you can remove these field names if you want, like that. So we're going to be adding a slicer for the color field. Select these colors to display only. So the first thing you need to do is add a slicer. And I'm gonna take that out, and I'm gonna be click here to make sure this is active, and then you're going to do this under the design, or actually insert. Where is insert? Yep. Click on the insert, and I can see all my commands. So let me maximize this. Okay, yeah, so under the insert, when I maximize, I can see my slice. I was not able to see it before when the screen was minimized like that. So when I maximize, I can see. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to insert a slicer. Under the insert button, under the filters, you click on the slicer, and the instructions are saying you should be inserting the slicer based on what? The color, I think. And so click on the color, and you click OK, and you have all the colors like that. Okay, so I check the color button. You can move this one around like that, and then I'm going to minimize this so I can see my instructions. So add a slicer for the color field. Okay, and then select these colors to display apricot, blah blah. So I'm going to click outside to select everything, and then you click that. Apricot is selected, then you can hold the control key because these colors are not next to each other. They are discontiguous. Apricot, and then you have, I don't know how to say that, color, and then you have there's some colors that I can display. Lilac, you got that. And what else? Marigold, you got that. And pearl gray, scroll down, pearl gray, you got that. And sapphire, that's the last one. You got that. So those are the only ones that you're going to be displaying, and you can see they are the only ones that are displaying here. So what you do is when you have the slicer, click on the first one, hold the shift key, and then select the rest. So you have that. Customize the slicer by completing the following steps. Apply the slicer. So once this is selected, then you'll see the slicer tools option appear. If you're out here, it's not active, you won't be able to do any formatting. So you have to activate it. Click on it, and then that brings the slicer tools option. And if you click on there, you'll see the slicer tools. You'll see these items here for the height, for the size, and all the way like that. Okay. And then once you do that, it says create a clustered column pivot chart and place it on a new chart sheet named retired pivot chart. Okay, so I'm assuming it's for this. So you can click in there and then you can go to insert and you can create a pivot chart like that. And what are they doing? They're doing custom something. What are we doing? Where we create a clustered column pivot chart and place it on a new sheet named retired. Okay, so this is your data that you're using for the pivot chart. And you can do it under insert pivot table tools, or you can do it under the analyze, I think. And you got that. So using the clustered, okay, is that cluster? Yeah, column. So make sure you are inside here, and then you go to analyze pivot table tools, analyze, and you click on that, and that's clustered. If you like that, you click OK down here. But they're actually saying you should be able to move it to a new location and place it in a new location. So what you can do is you can go to analyze or design. In the design, you move the chart, click on the move chart, and that will give you the option of doing it as a new sheet. Now it's an object because it's part of the sheet one, which you should have renamed. So you want to be on a new sheet, and then you click OK, and it's going to be on its own sheet, and you can rename that sheet. And then you have to change something, I think, like one of these. Click. So if you click on this, everything is selected. You have to click it again. It's kind of like double clicking. Okay. So when you begin, everything will be unselected. You click once, everything is highlighted. You don't want that. You only want to pick one because you're going to be changing the fill color. So you right click, you double click or click twice, and you only select one. Let's do this again. 1, 2. Okay. So that's highlighted. Then you can do all the formatting that you want. Fill color, you can change the color of that to whatever color you want, like that. Okay. And then when you go to the field, this tool here, chat elements, you can add the title. Okay. Click on that, and you're going to add the title of the chart, and you can specify where you want it to be. Okay, and then you have the axis titles. Actually, that's for the axis. Axis right here, and this one here. Chart title. We don't have a chart title now, so you check that box, and you have that right over there. And then you can go ahead and change the name here. Okay, so just right click there, and then type the new name that you want. So those are things that you're going to be doing down here. Apply that, modify that, and then when you finish that, change the category axis font size. So this is the category axis. So these are the axes that you're going to be changing, and you can change the font. The style is here, format axis. You can do it through there. Okay, you got the fill border, all these options here. Okay, and you can change the size through here. If you want to make this bigger, you can do it through there. Okay, so through the home tab uh, button under the font. And then everything else you'd be able to do here. Creating a footer, that's something you have done already, and on like that. Then you save your work. So that is the part of this assignment. Is a little bit more demanding, but I hope I've provided you with most of the information and some of the hints on how you're going to be able to do that. So play around with it, and I'm hoping that you're learning something from this class. As always, you can reach me through all those media that I've provided for you. All the best.